In a world with way too many podcasts comes Japtalion and This Guy, the podcast to end all podcasts. With some pieced together recording equipment, a couple loosely informed topics, and a coin, these three friends set out to forever change the next hour of your life.
Japtalion and This Guy is solely for entertainment purposes. Joseph, Eric, and Morgan are not professional researchers, investigators, or gynecologists. Not suitable for children.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Japtalion and This Guy. I'm Eric.
I'm Morgan.
I'm Joseph.
Hey, Jiggity Joe.
Just to run you over the show. Okay, we'll take two. For anybody that doesn't know, we here at Japtalion and This Guy, we pick our topics by a coin toss. But before we do that, we start off by sharing a little bit about our week or whatever the fuck we want to. What's going on with you guys this week?
Are y'all looking at me? Okay.
Yeah, we're looking at Joseph.
Not a lot. I've been doing that ride share thing lately, which is kind of cool.
Word?
You know, it's fun. I almost got wiped out like twice yesterday, day before yesterday.
You were surfing?
No,
Wipe out.
from assholes on the road, man. I don't know. I guess because I'm on the road more. Dude, this like car came on Garner's Ferry, just came in and like decided it was going to ignore the yield sign. And I drive a big red pickup truck.
Was
it's
it me?
bright red.
Did I do that?
No, it was some
I live off of Garner's Ferry.
Might have been you. I think it was a gray car though.
Fucking
But
Tokyo Drift over
he
here.
just went for it. You know, there was plenty of time to see me. He was sitting there doing nothing, and he didn't go until I got there.
Yeah.
And so I had to come over, and then there was somebody on my side. It was like you couldn't fit fucking paper between us, man.
Yikes.
I don't know what would have happened if he would have hit me.
You had somebody with you?
Yeah, I had somebody in the vehicle too, like a passenger. She was like, "Wow, you handled that really well. You have great reaction time." I was like, "Yeah, I do. I'm like a ninja."
Did people talk a lot?
No, thankfully they don't. Some of them do talk a lot, but most of them, I think most people just want to get a ride without a lot of talking.
Oh.
Good.
You know, if they're drunk, they'll talk a lot, which is annoying because they're drunk.
Yeah.
They're like breathing.
So I don't personally use the ride share that you use. I use your competitor.
I'm going to be with that one pretty soon.
I find myself talking a lot, or the driver talking a lot, to me whenever I use it.
I don't know if that's an attempt to get tips or something.
Yeah. The only time they don't talk a lot usually is if they're if they came over from another country and they have a really thick accent, they tend to not talk a lot. That's something I've noticed down in Florida and up here.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise, like Southern people fucking, "Hey, you from around here?" Oh, hell, I grew up here. I was born and raised.
Dude, I got this one in Vegas. I was in Vegas. I got one, and the dude was like, I don't know where he's from. He had some kind of accent. He was like driving, and he was talking about the women on the street, walking around. And it's Vegas, so there's like women walking around trying to look their best and get the most attention they can.
Yeah, so not wearing much.
Yeah, and he was like, "Look at these whores." He was like saying all this like really derogatory stuff about them, It's like they're just dressing like that. It's like it's like he had a real issue with it.
Oh shit.
And oddly enough, I didn't do anything to encourage him to start talking like that.
Yeah.
I was just trying to mind my own business. I just want to get a ride. I don't really need to talk to the person.
When I used to clean houses, I thought it was awkward. I never encountered it before as much, but there seemed to be a lot of racism coming from people that looked Hispanic and sounded Hispanic. Like the workers, they would say really awful things about black people. And I didn't ask them to. They would, I'm not like, "Hey, give me your best black guy joke." They would just say shit. I'm like, oh my God, my brother noticed it too, because some dude, like he was cleaning houses with me for a stretch, just came up to him throwing the N-word around. And
oh, because I thought your brother was Mexican.
Maybe. Yeah.
I think that's a thing that and I see white people do it a lot too, because I appear white. If you were to walk up to me and say, "Hey, you're obviously a white guy.
Yeah.
So white people do this, and I think the Mexicans or the Hispanics do it so that they don't seem, so they can kind of fit in with you. They're like, oh, it's a white guy. He's obviously racist. Let me throw some racist
That's a
jokes.
good point.
And
Yeah.
white people will do that too. They'll walk up and just start throwing the N-word around, and it's like, yo, what the fuck, man?
Yeah.
Fuck that shit. I get that sometimes with some of the clients I pick up. They start kind of dropping hints, trying to like measure the temperature of my racism or something. You
Yeah,
know, so
it's
they
like-
can know how racist to be.
Yeah, it's like racist breadcrumbs they're throwing out to see how many birds come peck at it. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Little safe bits of racism, so to speak. What? Racist breadcrumbs? That's nuts.
It is nuts.
Mogi Dogie?
Yo, my week.
Why I
Mo
said
week.
that.
What kind
Mo
of
week.
Yo, Mo week?
Tell us about your organizational skills.
I shaved my head this week. Well, I went
did.
to a barber and he shaved my head, but
It
yeah,
looks good.
does it? And then this morning I got up and it had already started growing back and shit, so we took the lawnmower that's supposed to be for my genitals and ran it over my head with no guard. So it's like almost to skin right now. But
Nice.
No guard's the way to go.
I got to get used to it.
I did notice I like it better the way it is now, the
Shorter.
close to skin look. Yeah.
Yeah,
Looks good.
thanks.
I shaved mine razor thin for a while, throwing my headphones
Were you
around
the
in
one
here.
telling me that when it was like this, it's like Velcro or sandpaper or something?
I'd go to pull
Yeah,
my
that's what I
shirt
thought,
on and
yeah.
it'd get like stuck on it, like really strong stuck on it. I'd be like trying to take my shirt off after work, and it's
So that's all I kind of had from the week. I shaved my head. I mean,
That's a
tons
big
of
deal.
work, lots of work. It's been like not lots of work shaving my head, but at work, it's been fucking busy.
I've spent so much time shaving my head.
I'm very meticulous. Each hair gets its own attention.
Speaking of meticulous, I wasn't thinking of this, but that'll be my thing. My next door neighbor, that reminded me of him. He's moving. His I think he had a family member pass away and like they got their house or something, I don't know.
Bingo.
But he's moving, and this guy, like, not only does he mow our front yard without us ever asking him to, I'll see him 2 yards over mowing their yard. Like, he just keeps going until somebody's like, dude, you're going to die.
Oh, is he going to move in next to me?
I don't know. Hopefully.
Jesus.
Annie pointed out today, she said, what do you notice about our front yard? I said, Mac mowed it before he's leaving. She said, well, yeah, but what else? I was like, I don't know. There are no dandelions because this dude has got out in my front yard for no pay and dug up all of my dandelions by the root.
Oh, shit. You don't have dandelions in your front yard.
We used to have a lot of them.
My front yard is a lot of
He
dandelions.
dug
Wow.
This dude loves yard work, man. He loves it.
I thought I liked yard work. Damn.
His yard doesn't either, but yeah, he came over out of boredom. We'd see him out there with scissors cutting down stuff like the grass in the sandy areas that couldn't, like, you mow a mower over it, but it doesn't really get it. He'll be out there with scissors cutting that stuff down.
Wow, man.
Well, okay.
He must have like
Jeez.
Zen-like attention or something,
Yeah,
you know?
seriously.
But we're, the guy's like real talkative, and I don't always want to talk when I'm outside of my house. I actually still have, I used to be somewhat agoraphobic, which is like a fear of being outdoors.
Yeah.
And I still kind of have that. So that's where it generates from, is like I just want to get in my house. So it's like the worst time for to meet someone talkative to me. But he's a really nice dude. And I'm actually going to miss that he's gone, because who
Yeah.
fucking knows what dumpster fire is going to move in next door to us now.
No shit.
You know?
Yeah.
Could be anything.
Yeah.
Could be me.
Oh, God. Who's,
I guess we're
it's
flipping a
down,
coin.
we're flipping a coin between Morgan and JoJo.
Yeah.
All right.
You tell us who's calling it.
JoJo, you want to call it?
Tails.
Coin flip. Oh, it's heads.
That's a big old heads.
It's a giant head.
It's a big old purple throbber. Y'all ever notice that what's the actor's name in Loki that plays opposite Loki?
Oh, Owen Wilson.
You ever notice his nose looks exactly like a penis?
No, it
It's
looks
got-
broken.
Well, it's got a curve on the end. My sister pointed it out. I swear you're never going to not
looks like
see
a-
a dick on his face.
Yeah, I've
The head
noticed
of a
that.
penis,
Yeah, like
like a circumcised.
more so than that rocket that Bezos just flew into space. Have y'all seen that? That looks like a big dick
Where they
too.
fucking did the Austin Powers. fucking
Kind of.
Most rockets look like penises.
No, dude. This one, look a picture up.
I've seen it.
They
Yeah, it's like larger
exaggerated
on the end.
Yeah, they exaggerated the head.
I would have done it too. I would have intentionally made it look like a dick too
You're
if I was
like
doing that.
the richest man in the world.
Yeah.
You can shoot a penis up into space.
Yeah.
All right, so you want to give us a little taste?
Just a little nibble. Just give me a crumb.
Oh God, I just want one sniff. Now I want more.
Yeah, so this topic's gonna come from my oldest brother, Michael. He sent me a text a while back, and it had a link, a Wikipedia link, and the name of a book, and it's about the Osage Indian tribe in Oklahoma and how hundreds of them were murdered to try and get their oil fortune. It's really interesting how the story is interesting how the Osage came to have money at all, how they got this land in Oklahoma, found oil on it, and then, the whole thing is really cool for them, except for the Reign of Terror, which is what it's called from like 1910 to 1930. It was the Reign of Terror.
Yeah, and so that's like well after we should have not been. Well, we never should have fucked
Yeah.
with anybody, but
Yeah.
like by then it's like we should have known better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what this is going to be about.
Did you know that Joseph's father's Pineview, is it Pineview?
Pineville.
Pineville property is on the Trail of Tears?
Oh shit! Wait, I think maybe your dad told me that or something.
Yeah, there's like a spring near there that they camped at.
It's
yeah.
haunted. Is it haunted?
Yeah, it's supposedly haunted.
Yeah,
Supposedly haunted.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember that story.
Yeah, cool.
Murder.
I want to go to Pineville.
Haunted by murder.
Yeah, this place is haunted because of all the tickling. There's just been so much tickling here over the years.
You just hear laughter. It's awful.
I give you a nickel. All right, I guess we should take a break. And now, Japtalion and this guy presents bloopers. I shouldn't say that on here. I'm gonna not say that on here. All right.
Okay.
So
Eric got a filter. No, I ain't got anything to say.
Oh, you look like you had something about to come out your mouth. Okay.
I just
And we're back. Joseph was about to clap.
trying to get the energy up. All right.
Joseph's all about the clap.
Yeah, let's do this again. And we're back. No, we're not. We didn't need to do that. No.
No. And, there's like nothing, it gives me that, like they're gonna, because if, on top of this, yeah.
I get, man, and he'll go, but and when we come back, we'll do it. All right, let's flip it. The old dick slip. Sorry.
But like And but anyways, so yeah, so anyways, but I guess something to Killer Moon. The reason I guess is because now hold on, I know this. They're well, it's not, I don't, or whatever. So this how's it called? Because I need to pee. It was 8 3 enough about me. What are we at on time?
All right, we are back from whatever the hell that was.
Man, that was crazy.
So Morgan's topic is about harming indigenous people.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah.
There's a lot to pull from, a lot of information to gather from that topic.
Get your Kleenexes out.
This is about one specific group, so
Yeah. Nice.
There's still a lot, but yeah, my brother he shot me over a text, and he was kind of telling me about it, and he lives in Oklahoma. The reason is because now they're making a movie based on the book that he sent me information on, and the book is called Killer of the Flower Moon.
Okay.
It's called Killer of the Flower Moon, Osage Murders, and the Birth of the FBI. The thing is crazy. I'm going to start with the Osage Indians, right? So in like 1825, they got moved to, they got pushed back to Kansas. They were forced to live in some dry, arid town in Kansas.
Where were they pushed from? Do you know?
It didn't say. No, I tried to find as much back information because, I heard the land they ended up with in Oklahoma, they paid for.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't allotted to them through treaty. It wasn't allotted to them through treaty. They paid for it.
Right.
And so I was like, everything I read, nothing was telling me how the fuck they made their money, Well, I'll get into it. So in 1825, they were pushed back to Kansas, this town that's where they lived. And then by the 1870s, Kansas wanted to get statehood. And you can't do that with these fucking indigenous people running around.
Right.
God damn. It's so fucking crazy.
Yeah.
This just in case you missed it, we were being sarcastic, not racist.
So what happened was they tried to sell their land. They had 8 million acres. And
That's a lot of acreage.
It is a lot of acreage, yeah. They had 8 million acres, and the railroad company wanted to buy it from them at 20 cents an acre, which doesn't seem like a whole lot. That's like 1.6 million. That's not a whole lot. So they protested. They sent it to up in the food chain where they needed to protest to, and they were able to get it changed so that nobody could buy Indian reservation land except for the United States government. Which worked in their benefit because instead of 20 cents an acre, they ended up getting $1.25 an acre.
Wow.
So they got $10 million. Wow. So that was one part of how they got their money, right? Then they go to Oklahoma, they buy this land. It was a lot less. They got 1,500,000 acres in Oklahoma. They paid for it, and the money that was left over, they put into trust funds. They said that if you took all the money that was in the trust funds and divided it evenly amongst the Osage population at that time, they were the richest community in the world.
Wow.
Dang.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah, somebody's going to have to put a stop to that.
Yeah, that didn't last. Yeah.
Well, they came in, and this was before they found out about the oil and everything. So 3 years after they get settled in I don't know what the year was exactly, 1887. Go ahead.
Somebody fly a kite into a teepee?
Yeah.
Instead of like fly a plane into a building.
Jesus.
Oh.
Oh, God. I had this little note. Somebody had called them the tallest race of men in North America, the Osage people. That's interesting. It was just a little tidbit I had written down.
Titty bitties.
Welcome to the jungle. You've just been ignored.
So because of the General Allotment Act of 1887, which gave a lot of power to whoever the president is to control what happens on Indian reservations. Because of this allotment act, the government wanted to allot the land of that the Osage was on, but the Osage is like, we paid for this with our own money. And they're like, yeah, but you guys are incompetent because you're indigenous. So we kind of need to control it. So what they worked out was that
Wow.
What the fuck, dude?
I know.
They were doing just fine.
Were they?
They were doing fine.
Yeah, they were
for
doing fine.
hundreds of
Because you know
years.
what happened? Once they got in there, before they found oil, then they started renting out the land because they had 1.5 million acres of land. They started renting it out for grazing, for cattle
now they're
grazing and
generating
stuff.
money
Or
with
no,
it.
they
Right.
had 800 million.
Well, they had 8 million in Kansas.
Oh, okay.
In Oklahoma,
Sorry.
they got 1,500,000. So then they started renting out pieces of land, and for every acre, it was like a small amount of money, but it was some money coming in.
Yeah.
And that's how they made like this huge fortune and stuff and kept it going.
Wow, way to adapt.
Right. But they're incompetent. Come on, man.
Yeah.
That's the U.S. government. You know, that's just the
Yeah.
thing, right?
It's hard, man. It's hard being an American sometimes.
Yeah. This is the problem with capitalism, is because this is the shit it was built on. Like, capitalism would not be where it's at today if it was not built on indigenous people. Their land, their resources, their fucking labor.
Yeah.
That's how race is tied into capitalism. Like when people talk about race and capitalism. Matter of fact, I think that's what the new that hot topic.
Every time you say Hot Topic, I think of like that store at the mall.
The critical race theory. I think it
yeah.
incorporates capitalism into how racism is tied into the system that we have.
You know, speaking of critical race theory, that's why I'm glad they're doing this movie and that book is out. That book's a couple of years old. It's not really old, you know, because the Osage Indian, the reign of terror has been forgotten by most of America when it is the case that built the FBI to what it is.
Wow.
Yeah, you know, nobody knows that.
Wow.
And right. So we forget about that stuff. We're made to forget about that stuff, right? Because they don't want to teach that shit in school because it makes white people look horrible,
Yeah.
right? And that's what critical race theory is all about.
Let me amend. Not everyone who's afraid of critical race theory is a racist. They've just been given misinformation by people that want to continue the capitalist exploitation of people who are considered their lessers by them. That's a fair statement.
Right, yeah.
He comes armed with a master's degree and a left-leaning liberal attitude. Eric is a social justice warrior.
So, so then they found oil. Well, no. I'm sorry. I'm where the government's trying to allot their land. So they say,
Texas
okay,
tea.
this is what we'll do. Because if you don't do something with the government, they're gonna fucking take it. And these Osage Indians know that. You know, they've been put through it already. So what they did was they said, okay, we'll allot surface rights to the government and we keep the mineral rights. So everything below the ground belongs to them.
Oh, my grandfather would love that.
Really? Why's that?
He used to always say that if you buy land, always make sure you get the mineral rights to it. Because there's a bunch of shit under the ground that's worth a lot.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the rights to it, then you don't have the rights to it.
Yeah.
And they said it was more than just oil. You know, there's oil, which they ended up finding in, 1887. They ended up finding the oil, but then there's also coal, and they said other minerals, whatever that means. But, I wanted to cite my sources. Let me cite my sources real quick.
It was cocaine rocks. They found cocaine rocks down there.
Cocaine rocks.
Yeah.
Chiseling away. What's this? Smells great. So I got it from a PBS video that I found on YouTube.
Wow. It's a fly-by-night organization.
PBS.
Yeah.
Some of this information came from Indian Land Tenure Foundation. That's the information about allotments and stuff. Wikipedia is going to be one. Osage Nation, nsn.gov, and the book Killer of the Flower Moon. Getting into the oil rights and stuff, they ended up getting the mineral rights, and so they all got paid a certain amount of money for, per capita. So they called that the head rights. And every Osage Indian had head rights. And at this time in 1906, this is when the deal finally went through, was in 1906, there were 2,229 Indians, Osage Indians, on the land. So that means 2,229 head rights. So everybody that was Osage got head rights to the land. And the agreement was that they could never be sold, the head rights. They could only be inherited. So you could will them to anyone, but you could never sell them and trade your head right for money if you're an Osage Indian.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. At this point, every member of the tribe is a millionaire. Every single member of the tribe.
God, nice.
So they were already rich.
Yeah.
They were already wealthy motherfuckers, and they were building on their wealth with the cattle grazing, and now they hit oil.
Yeah, it sounds to me like they started learning the rules to the game that they were now playing. Like, you know, Europeans came over with this capitalism game that they knew nothing about, and it sounds like they're like, okay, we can do this, and they figured out how to make money in the system that we brought over. And then,
That's right. Yeah.
And then we were still like, nah.
Wait a minute. You guys aren't allowed to do this. Hold on. Yeah. Well,
Wow.
they let them do it to a certain degree. You know, they assigned every Osage, or if it was might have been Osage families, they were all assigned what they called a guardian, because they were seriously considered incompetent. You know, that's why they got put on reservations. That was the reason for land allotment. You know what, Joseph? You want to say something?
It's just the whole thing's kind of awful.
Yeah.
Really
this
awful.
whole story is fucking awful, man. Listening to that book, I really like how they divided up.
We're talking about it. I'm joking.
Well, it's awful.
Yeah.
It's to our benefit how awful it is. No, I mean for the show. Because it's an entertaining story.
Yeah, it's an interesting story, and I want to hear it for sure.
Ours, like white people are.
Wow.
I think it's also important to throw it out there again, because honestly, I don't remember being taught about this.
I don't either. Yeah.
I've never heard any of this.
I'd never heard any of this. Yeah. So the book was divided up, and hopefully they do this with the movie too. The book was divided up in one part from the Indian perspective. Molly Burkhart was basically one of her and her kids were the only survivors of her family, and her family murders are the ones that the FBI built their legacy on. So a lot of it's from Molly's point of view in the very first section, like 9 or 10 chapters, and then the second section is from the FBI agent in charge. It's all from like his story. His name was Tom White, so it's all from his point of view and stuff. Tom White from this book seems to have been just a fucking amazing person from like childhood till he was 90 years old before he died. And then the last part is called The Reporter, and it's from the point of view of this just newspaper reporter that went down there to check things out. And, you know, I think somebody gave him some information, and he was like, what is this about? So he goes there and he meets Molly Burkhart's grandchild or something. And, you know, she takes him through a museum and tells him all these stories and stuff, and all kinds of shit came up. They built this really good story at the beginning. They had the court case and everything there in the middle, and then they tied everything together at the end. It was a really well done book. I guess that takes us to the murders now. So it says that they have all this money, so now they're at a point where they can do and buy any fucking thing they want, right? Yeah. These Native Americans have white people as servants. You know, Yeah, in their homes and stuff. And
that didn't go over well.
Because
at
what
all.
happened,
Yeah.
people came, this is the richest community in the entire world. People came from all over the world, right? It says between 1910 and 1930, the population went from 10,000 to 35,000 in this county. Yeah. So people came from all over the world with the worst of intentions. You know, people didn't come and say, oh, I'm going to go help them. No, they came and said, I'm going to go help myself to their fucking money. I'm going to, figure out how to be a guardian. They had judges that would appoint people as guardians depending on what they could do for the judge. The judge would get favors and he'd be like, all right, I'll make you a guardian. That kind of stuff.
Oh, damn. So they're having to constantly fight against it to keep it.
Yeah, but they didn't know. They didn't know that all this was going on because the guardians, they have control over the Osage money. Like, say you're an Osage with a head right. I'm your guardian. I've got control over your money. So if you ask me how much you got or how much you can spend a day, I'll tell you and I'll give you a little bit, but really you could spend more and I'll keep the rest.
So that you can get like a silk suit or something.
Yeah.
Well, in case you didn't know, my name's Joseph, and I'm old. I talk about things like silk suits and penny loafers and putting pomade in your hair. Oh, God, I wish I was really Italian.
And I mean, they built relationships. People came down there and married the Osage women, just to be entitled to their money and stuff and have their kids. I mean,
Wow.
Yeah. It's crazy.
That's nuts.
It is nuts. So the case was started with Anna Brown. Anna Brown was one of Molly's sisters, and she loved to go out drinking. She'd go party in Oklahoma City. She'd party in this town called Whizbang. That was the name of it. Whizbang, where they
Sounds like
said
a party town.
where they said people whiz all day and bang all night.
Wow.
But she'd go party in these towns and stuff. And one night, her ex-husband, who was oddly enough Molly's husband's brother, so two brothers married these sisters or whatever. So
Okay.
her ex-husband is giving her a ride home after she's drunk, and then nobody hears from her. 2 days later, some hunters found her badly decayed in a ravine. They go down. There are these doctors. The doctors are brothers. They said, "Oh yeah, it looks like she was drunk, fell, and bumped her head, and died." Then the coroner. Go ahead.
What year are these murders taken? Or is this murder taking
I think
place?
this one was in 1920 or 1919, somewhere right around then.
Make sure I keep my time.
I think it was 1920. Yeah, so anyways, the doctors said that she fell because she was drunk and killed herself by bumping her head.
Yeah.
The coroner said, no, there was a bullet that went through the back of her head.
She fell on it when she was drunk.
She fell on the bullet. That's what happened. I bet nobody came up with that. Yeah, so for a long time, Molly's husband, he helped, try to figure out what was going on. And his brother was helping to try and figure out what was going on and stuff. And then meanwhile, another guy dies, Brone. And he...
Brone.
Yeah.
It's a strong name.
Yeah. Yeah. Henry, I think was his first name.
Henry Brone.
Hank Brone.
It's like bro and bone put together. I like it.
He was just out driving and then turned up dead with a bullet hole in his head. And I think it was just, people just kept on dying. As far as Anna and Molly's family, Anna died, and then one of her sisters, Rita, Bill and Rita were married. Their house was blown up, and I think that when their house was blown up, they said it was so bad there were like arms and legs in neighbors' yards and stuff. I mean, it was fucking disgusting, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Did they get drunk and just spontaneously explode?
Yeah.
That's what the
That's what the doctors
official
would have
report
said.
was. Yeah.
Yeah. So at this time, J. Edgar Hoover is 29 years old. He's the head of what was then called the Bureau of Investigation. So it was the BOI back then. And he got this
Boy!
boy. Thanks for that. So he found Tom White, and Tom was a Texas Ranger at the time. And Tom grew up, his dad was a Texas Ranger, or his dad was a sheriff, and over the town that his dad believed that when you're a sheriff and you sentence somebody to something, then you carry out the punishment, you know? So his dad made him go to an execution early on when he was a kid. His dad made him come so he could watch it. And
I think that subject came up when Eric did the
death penalty.
Death penalty, yeah.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, how we over the years we have removed ourselves from the punishment.
Yeah.
You know, so we don't sit there. We don't have public executions around here anymore.
Well. Look who's got a memory.
We don't have like you can do the same thing with the food we eat. We're reserved from the processing of that, so we don't have as much respect for the things that provide us nourishment. I mean, the way they're treated, we don't factories and shit.
Yeah.
It's because we don't, we're not raising the chickens and slaughtering them or using them for their eggs and shit like that. It shit's done somewhere else.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
Nice little tangent.
And we're off on another tangent.
That's all right. So anyways, so that's how Tom White grew up. His brothers became law enforcement guys too. And J. Edgar Hoover recruited him to come over in special investigations. And Tom grabbed a couple of other Texas Rangers to bring with him. And he got one guy that used to be an insurance salesman to come in and kind of be undercover as an insurance salesman. So there was this fella, God, I'm trying to get all these names straight. I wish I had more stuff written down. The guy's name was William Hale. William Hale, his nephew's Molly's husband and Anna's ex-husband, the Burkhart brothers.
Okay.
Yeah. So William Hale comes to town, and he's all of a sudden people are fucking dropping like flies. Poison, the explosions, gunshots.
And these are all Osage related people.
And because let's say Rita, Molly's sister, dies. Her head rights now go to her mom. Her mom then ends up poisoned. So now the head rights go to Molly.
Oh, it's consolidating the head rights to fewer and fewer people.
Right, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they like somebody planned this shit out.
Yeah. I saw a court paper that was used in the trial that had William Hale's name in the center, and it was like everybody that was killed and how much money was being funneled to him through their deaths. And that guy, Henry Brown, he tried like 4 times to take an insurance policy out on this guy, right? Life insurance policy out on him. And it was like, well, you're not allowed to take it. You need his consent to take an insurance policy out. And then there was somebody else that was like, well, that's fine. You can take out the insurance policy, but you got to prove that he owes you money in order to take out an insurance policy. So then he just fabricates some proof that he's owed $25,000.
Wow.
So you're right, exactly. So then he goes to another insurance company, and they're like, okay, that's fine. He needs a health check. We got to make sure he's not dying tomorrow to insure him. And the dude was a fall down drunk. Henry Brown was. He was a fall down drunk. Yeah. So they were like, we're not insuring that guy. Finally, the 4th company was like, okay, whatever. We don't even give a fuck. Yeah, sure. He's insured. Great. So he's insured. Like a week later, there's a bullet in his head. Yeah. So William Hale collects $25,000 from that. The rest of them, it wasn't that much money that he was getting from everybody, but with it all combined, he was getting a pretty good payday for murdering Osage Indians or having them murdered, which is what he did. He never put his hands right on it. He would always get somebody else to do his dirty work. It's crazy.
And remember, kids, when it comes to murder for money, always make sure that you outsource the murder and just collect the money.
So Tom White comes to town. He's interviewing people. He's got his investigators interviewing people. And they're going down to the jail because at one point, William Hale went to the jail and got some guy. He paid the guards so that the guy could escape and go blow up the house in the middle of the night and then put him back in jail and stuff. So this guy's talking, right? Because he's already locked up. He's like, yeah, he did this. He told me to do this and blah, blah, blah. They get into court. Let's see, how did it work out? Because William Hale ended up getting federal charges because of this. Oh, because of where one of the murders happened was actually on an Indian reservation because Osage County didn't count as Indian reservation because it wasn't treaty land. But one person was killed on a reservation, so that counted, which made it federal. So William Hale got tried in a federal court. He ended up losing. Him, Molly's husband, and his brother, they all ended up getting life in prison, which was, great. That's what you want. Yeah. However, life in prison apparently for William Hale was not life. It was a few years, and then he was paroled because his daughter was married to somebody that had a connection to somebody in the government that could get him an early release. So he got released, but he never fucked with anybody after that. I don't know what happened to him in prison. Tom White ended up getting out of the bureau, and he got moved to warden over Leavenworth, and he was there for decades. He died a year before Hoover died, and he was 90 years old. There was a story in the book about Tom White. When he was warden, the prisoners came, and they had a riot, and they had a big takeover, and they kidnapped him and took him, and they stopped at a farmhouse and grabbed these two kids, a brother and sister. And the girl got away, and when she got away, one of the guys was going to shoot him, right? So Tom White grabs the gun, and the guy's like, shoot him, he's got my gun. So this dude turns around and puts a fucking buckshot into him, shoots him. And are you guys familiar with what a buckshot is?
Yes.
And is that the one that's... No, that's birdshot.
Birdshot spreads. A buckshot is like a slug. It's like one big-ass bullet in a 12-gauge shell. You know?
Yeah.
So he gets shot with this buckshot. He puts his arm up. It goes straight through his forearm and into his chest. Ooh. Right? He lives. He fucking lives. Dude's tough as shit. He lives. He stayed warden in fucking Leavenworth till he died, I think.
Wow.
Yeah. But when they caught, so these guys know, because they're hardened criminals in Leavenworth, they know you fuck with somebody like a warden, you're dead. You go back to prison, you're fucking dead when you go back. So most of them killed themselves. One guy was getting ready to kill himself, and he ended up getting captured. Went back to prison, and White gave specific instructions to never lay a hand on any of the prisoners. So that guy actually in an interview said he said, we did one of the most hurtful things and one of the most painful things to this guy, and he never laid a hand on me. He never had anyone lay a hand on me, and he talked about how much respect he had for him because of that or whatever. Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. Anyways, they said that hundreds of Osage died during the Reign of Terror, and they think that the Reign of Terror is classified between 1920 and 1930, but they believe that it started more in 1910. People started falling off from being poisoned and stuff, and it wasn't associated with William Hale, but those cases were never brought up because it was like somebody that was covering it up. They were covering their tracks and had doctors that were willing to lie for them. And
yeah. Man, this makes me think of this. There's this guy on TikTok called he calls himself Modern Warrior. Mm-hmm. And he's from some tribe, and he looks like a classic, what you would see in like a spaghetti western or something with
those were Italians.
Yeah, but he looks like a chief. Like he just has the profile of a chief.
Yeah.
Long, silky hair. Anyways, he gets real political with stuff. It shouldn't be political is my point. he brings up the harm still done to the communities and how it's never been repaid back, and we still do it today. I mean, we run pipelines straight through ancestral lands and just do whatever the fuck we want. And he typically calls people colonizer, which a lot of white people hate that shit. And he showed 2 maps of Arizona, which I think is where he lives. One map was of all the tribal land, or what's it called, reservations. And then he put the map of the counties that voted Democrat in the last election, and they were exactly the same. And then he showed a clip of someone reading this House bill in Arizona that makes it harder for indigenous people to vote.
Yep.
And it went to the Supreme Court, and then all the conservative judges were like, nah, it's all right. A lower court had ruled that, yes, indeed, this is harmful to minorities. And they used they propagated it with the lie that the last election was stolen.
What?
Yeah, they to create all these in the news, man, all these states that are like that have conservative bodies in place to do it are creating a bunch of laws that are basically wiping away the stuff that happened in the civil rights movement to make elections easier to access for people that are not white.
Yeah.
It's just sad. And I'm not trying to get uber political, but I don't think it's a political thing. It shouldn't be. This is a tactic that people are using to specify on race so they can win politically. They're using racism as a tactic to keep their party in power. And it ain't right.
It ain't right.
It's not right. That's sick.
And on this, we all agree.
Yeah.
Wow.
Dang.
Right?
Yeah. And it's, I mean, there's a lot of evidence that that's what's going on, but
I found that
we just lost a lot of fans.
Yeah. You guys can fuck off if you know. Anyways, I found the court paper that shows the tree, the branch. It was and I'm sorry, it wasn't Henry Brown, it was Henry Rowan.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's not as strong.
Apologies to Henry Brown.
Yeah.
And the family of Henry Rowan. Yeah, it says they all got life. Ernest Burkhart, John Ramsey. Oh, John Ramsey was the prisoner that they came and got. John Ramsey, Curly Johnson, and Blackie Thompson.
Curly Johnson.
Curly.
That is a name straight out of The Unforgiven.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that was the murders and stuff, and then it was like they changed the law to that you couldn't. The only people that were allowed to get the head rights, that were allowed to be willed head rights, are now have to be at least half Osage, and so that no white people, no pure white people, could get it after the trial and everything. They had the law changed.
That's crazy that they had to do that to protect their interests.
Now they just got in the late 70s, early 80s, they got it so that they're in control of their head rights. There's no guardians or anything. That's fucking crazy.
It took till the 70s.
How did it take 50 fucking years?
That's why when people say things like, oh, you know, slavery ended, blah, blah, blah.
Right. Yeah, Brandy was saying, when I was saying something about how the Indians were considered incompetent and stuff, Brandy was like, God, what'd they think of black people, you know? Once the Emancipation Proclamation, they got 40 acres and a mule, but did they? You know, what else did they get? Nothing?
They probably didn't even get that.
Yeah, they probably didn't.
Yikes. But it's important to represent history accurately so that we don't do the stuff again. But it's still being done. Not as widespread, but it's still being done.
It is still being done, and we're covering it up. Not us particularly,
Right.
but we're still as a nation covering it up and pretending like it didn't exist. There's this cooking show, and I don't know what cooking network it's on, but it's called The Pioneer Woman, and the lady's name is Rhea Drummond. When you watch the show, because my ex-wife used to watch that show all the fucking time. She sells like boxes of fucking cooking ware and stuff at Walmart and Target and shit.
Yeah.
When you watch the show, it looks like a beautiful family, like cowboy life. They got this huge ranch with the sunset overlooking, their property and stuff.
Sounds nice.
Her family was directly involved with the murders of the Osage Indians.
Wow.
Yeah. Directly involved. My brother said they don't even, the Osage in Oklahoma don't even speak her name, is how much they hate her and her family.
Wow.
And they just keep it going. Hey, we'll just keep this ranch. No big deal.
I mean, I can see why people like this guy, Modern Warrior, he doesn't call everyone a colonizer. He calls people that act like colonizers, because he's like, what are you doing if you have knowledge that all this happened? What are you doing to change it?
Right.
And if you're not doing anything, then you're still just sitting easy on the benefits that were taken from my people.
Eesh.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's tough, man. It's a
Damn.
knife in the gut, because this goes into personal Eric stuff. I had to step back on some of that, because y'all know in my heart, my heart bleeds for stuff like that, but a lot of times I'm just trying to fight the depression to get out of bed. I'm not in that place right now, but there's looking at all of that stuff is very difficult, but I also feel like I'm privileged enough to not to have to look at that stuff. This guy has no choice but to look at that stuff. Every time he looks in the mirror, he sees himself and knows that what we've done to people that look exactly like him. And it still are. I mean, the pipelines, just look at the pipelines that we've ran through places where they're boycotting, picketing. They have allies out there trying to stop these pipelines going through their lands. We're still doing it.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, because the corporations have better and bigger allies.
Corporations have taken over our government. I mean,
They
that's
have.
just
the lobbying
just
is
the bottom
ridiculous.
line.
Yeah, the lobbyists for corporations run the country.
And then the politicians basically are paid to stay in office and then to spread whatever misinformation they can to make it seem like what the corporations want to be done is the right thing. It's kind of scary.
Oh, man.
You got more horrors.
Yeah, do you? That kind of wraps it up?
Yeah, that does kind of wrap it up.
Yeah.
I have so much information in my head and I can't articulate it for whatever reason, because I get dumb when I sit in front of a microphone.
I'm surprised you had that much in your head. I've got to crazy have notes on my phone. I mean, I see your notes
I
in
have
front
some
of you,
notes,
but
yeah.
Yeah, this topics like this are really difficult to look at.
Yeah.
Not just because of the quote unquote white guilt thing, but some of the stuff is just so horrifying.
I don't feel guilt about any of it. I feel like it's fucking hard to wrap my head around how much murder and theft was going on for these for these Osage Indians that were just trying to fucking live in the system that we built around them.
Yeah, we just came and took the shit from them and then said, we're going to do this thing.
Not
even
to
asking
mention for the ones that weren't given blankets with smallpox and just wholesale murdered.
Yeah.
The rule was assimilation. You are going to assimilate to our lifestyle because you're a heathen and what you do is not the right thing to do. So these people started learning. Obviously, they learned how to make money off of their land, how to keep their property rights. They learned those things. And someone's like, well, I'm just going to go murder him.
Yeah.
Not just one someone, a lot of someone's like, hey, we're just going to go take them out.
There was a story about one of the Osage that was being slowly poisoned through alcohol because they all drank like fish. There were bootleggers there, and they were feeding him alcohol. So he was slowly being poisoned. They were putting poison in almost all the alcohol in Osage County.
Right.
And he ended up in the hospital, right? His lawyer came to see him. And the guy in the interview said, well, he must have told his lawyer something because his lawyer ended up thrown off the fucking train on his way. When he left the hospital, he got thrown off the train. Like,
wow. Like a moving train?
Like a moving
thrown
train.
off
Yeah,
the
not like, hey, you
fuck
need to
me.
leave this train.
Yeah.
It was like, it was a fight, and I'm sure the
Yeah.
dude was thrown overboard on the train.
Damn. Danny DeVito and shit. Threw mama from the train.
Oh, shit, man.
Oh.
Yeah, the shit's just really hard to look at, man.
Yeah.
Because, you know, there's like nothing it gives me that sense of powerlessness, you know, because I see like a horrifying thing and I hear like a horrifying history, and it's like there's nothing. I feel like there's nothing that can be done to make it right or to change it, you know.
So there was this that I found on Wikipedia. Joseph just reminded me, which doesn't forgive all the fucking ridiculous murder that happened.
Right.
But the U.S. government continued to manage leases and royalties from the oil-producing lands, and the tribe became concerned about these assets in 2000. The Osage Nation filed a suit against the Department of the Interior, alleging that it had not adequately managed the assets and paid people the royalties they were due. The suit was settled in 2011 for $380 million to the Osage people. That
something.
helps.
I mean,
that helps.
yeah.
But I mean, all the insane.
Yeah, that helps. But I mean, there's still all the other nations like that are like just overrun with drug addiction and like poverty,
Or
who are
don't
sitting on
exist
nothing.
anymore.
Or just flat out, don't exist anymore. They're not a thing anymore.
That's
you know?
when I asked you earlier on, like where they came from, and you said no. I was looking, I couldn't find the information. I was thinking, well, shit, it may not. Well, there are Osage people still around,
Oh,
so
yeah.
they know where they came from. But there's a lot that just fucking died of smallpox and shit.
When my brother was telling me about this, I was under the impression that this whole fucking tribe had been wiped out. You know,
Right.
that's what I was under the
Right.
impression of, and they were just eliminated from the earth.
Yeah,
But yeah, there are still some left, but they claim that hundreds were killed during the Reign of Terror, all for fucking head rights.
we stole not only the resources, the land, and treated people horribly. We robbed people of their history. Think of all the black citizens of the U.S. right now that don't. I mean, I'm sure it's really hard to trace your lineage back
Oh shit!
from a slave ship across to Africa.
Yeah, to
you
be
know.
like I came from Senegal or what the fuck ever.
Yeah, and to find out who your people really were, because they, you know,
Damn.
they
Yeah.
came from tribes over there. They came from kings and queens, or how, I mean, that wasn't the word they used, but you know, people were born of royalty, I'm sure, that ended up over here
Yeah.
picking fucking cotton for the machine. Man, I watch a lot of period pieces from British shows because I just like that, especially
Yeah.
like 1800s and stuff.
And we're off on another tangent.
And I was watching this one, and it basically was like them trying to keep up with capitalism, and they kept mentioning America. We can't keep up with America unless we like push these workers harder for less. So it really does give you, and this is a fiction show, but it's based on that truth of this free, overwhelming amount of free labor, basically free, from us moving human beings in mass to make them do our chores for us so we could make profits, affected the world because other people are trying to keep up with capitalism at the rate of the U.S., but they can't because Europe didn't have that amount of slavery going on like we did, and they were ahead of us with the rights of like emancipation and shit like that. They were
Europe got rid of that shit.
yeah before we did. Yeah. I mean, dude, even World War II, we're fighting the Nazis and we're still segregating units. Like black people did not, they didn't even want to give black people weapons for the most part. They did a lot of the engineering stuff or supplies. There were some, obviously, but yeah.
And they were even like you mentioned World War II. I mean, look at what they did with Asian Americans. They took every single Asian, classified them as Japanese, and threw them in fucking what they call them internment camps. Yeah,
Endearment.
Yeah,
This
it was
is
not
your
endearing.
endearment camp. That would have been a nice name for it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh man. So it needs to be said though. This stuff still needs to be talked about.
Yeah, even though it's uncomfortable.
Yeah. If anyone's made it this far that is just wholly offended by this topic, think about why it offends you. You know, it's probably hard to fucking hear, but
It is hard to hear, man, because I was born here too. You know,
Right.
I can't just give because I got nowhere to go.
right.
You know, like there hopefully will come a way to make it all right somehow.
Well, and it's just so complex. Your Italians weren't treated real great when they came here either, nor the Irish.
Yeah.
And it's like everybody somehow got accepted into whiteness to an extent, because
Yeah.
Italians
Oh, yeah.
weren't considered white, Irish weren't considered white.
yeah. That's crazy, right?
That's nuts because they are the whitest of the whites.
We are the whitest of the whites.
Yeah.
Well-
You can't even tan them.
You can't. No, you can't.
Maybe British are probably, those old like the old British. Those are the whitest of the whites.
Oh yeah, with like the hook nose and the like gappy teeth.
The snaggle teeth.
God. Well, it's been nice running a podcast. Good topic, man.
Oh man. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
that's heavy.
It was heavy, man. I kept getting more and more into it after I finished the book. I was like, "Oh shit, this is like what else is there that's not in the book,
Right.
Yeah, it's been like a big topic in my keeps coming up around me lately. Because I've been listening to Black Elk Speaks again, and it's like this morning I was listening to it, I was like getting all choked up. He's talking about like dead babies and stuff. And
Yeah.
it's fucking sad. Somebody's just wanting to fucking live their life. There's there's this like unstoppable force just bearing down on them that they cannot defend themselves against. It was
crazy
in
how
a way.
violent.
It was relatable, but it was like horrifying as well.
Yeah. That's why it's crazy how violent it used to be. And we feel like there's a lot of violence now because we live in this time, kind of like we've talked about on past episodes, when we look back at how masculine men used to be,
Yeah.
and what
Yeah.
they would think of us today. It's
Yeah.
kind of the same thing with violence, how violent it used to be. And if people could see how the world we live in, we think there's a lot of violence going on, but 100 years ago, those people would think this is a cakewalk.
Yeah.
Well, to lace that into another thing we brought up, a lot of our violence, like the food that we process to eat, has been pushed to corners of society where we don't have to look at it.
yeah.
Like the 13th Amendment allows for slavery for someone who's committed a crime. That's the one
Yeah.
exception.
Yeah.
Well, all of that violence has been pushed into these boxes that are predominantly, like if you look at the ratios of white and black and whatever, they're predominantly people of color, right?
Yeah.
A lot of violence happens in prison. We don't have to look at it because it's in these little concrete boxes that have
Jesus.
a direct tie back to the 13th Amendment. And, well, we don't want emancipation, so we'll keep this little loophole in here. So there may not be as much violence, but it's now in other countries. Like, it's not here in the streets, but we are around the world everywhere keeping our interest in check,
Wow.
So we just don't have to deal with the violence, but other fucking people are.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now it's privatized. It's like it's a business too.
Yeah.
Prisons.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy to me.
Oh, and now we're on the edge of continuing this process
Into
off
space?
planet.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So like
the
Elon
moon
Musk
prison.
is essentially like the Dutch East India Company or something. He's gonna take his colonizing and his slavery and take
okay.
it somewhere else and find some people to fuck with out there.
Yeah.
Did y'all see Bezos's interview when he
No.
got? Oh my God, he looked like a maniac. Yeah, just
More so?
his facial expressions and stuff. When we're talking about like going into space and coming back. It's like these people already feel like they're gods, and now he's just left the atmosphere and came back. It's like, oh God. Now they'll just have his workers will have like colostomy bags put in, so they don't even have to worry about bathroom breaks.
Oh yeah, control. I was thinking like I was thinking Joseph was going with what he said, like sending prisoners up to
put them to work.
Put them to work.
Yeah.
Is that what you were talking about?
Yeah.
It's kind of like Australia or Georgia.
Or if you actually find people living on Mars or whatever, or where the fuck ever.
Yeah.
Because there's, I think there's somebody else out there.
Yeah.
You know, when we run into them, we're going to start fucking with them. That's what we do.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Hey, you guys aren't supposed to be here.
We're going to help you.
Or I think it was Stephen Hawking that warned about looking for or welcoming alien life here because
they might do it to us.
Yeah. If they've got higher technology than us and think us inferior, there's no reason to think that we would not just become their slave labor for whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
I'm glad I don't have to edit this episode. That's all I'm saying.
Maybe treating people better is the way.
This is the way. Okay. Well, I guess we've all wrapped up. We've cured racism. That's my takeaway from this.
I'm going to go home and stare into the abyss.
Well, have a good evening.
Have a good morning.
Have a good shit.